Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar today. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to be discussing our latest policy brief on Florida's efforts to strengthen our nationally recognized 2+2 transfer pathway and increase the number of students who earn a degree and enter the workforce. My name is Troy Miller, Associate Director for Research and Policy with Florida College Access Network, and we have an exciting lineup of presenters joining us today. I'm calling them the who's who of 2+2. We have the Florida College System Chancellor, Madeline Pumariega, as well as Dr. Jeff Jones from UCF, Dr. Janie Valdez from FIU, and Dr. Faye Howard from USF. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. The webinar is being recorded and will be shared soon after the presentation. We will also post a blog recapping highlights from the webinar on our website, so keep an eye out for that on www.floridacollegeaccess.org. We also want to encourage you to ask questions in your GoToWebinar control panel, which we will get to at the conclusion of the presentation. For those of you joining us for the first time, Florida College Access Network is Florida's first collaborative network committed to ensuring all Floridians have the opportunity to achieve an education beyond high school and prosper in Florida's dynamic economy. Our vision for Florida is Goal 2025 for 60% of working age Floridians to hold a high quality post-secondary degree or credential by the year 2025. At FCAN, we accomplish our work in three key ways. The first, through LCANs, or local college access networks. LCANs bring together community stakeholders around the shared goal of increasing post-secondary attainment. These strategic alliances of leaders and organizations representing K-12, higher ed, nonprofits, philanthropy, local government, and business work together to boost student outcomes and currently represents nearly 80% of the state's population. For more information about LCANs in your area, please contact our Assistant Director for Network Partnerships, Kathy McDonald. And for the past 3 years, FCAN has coordinated 3 statewide initiatives aimed at helping more Floridians access and complete a post-secondary education: Apply Yourself Florida, the Florida FAFSA Challenge, and Florida College Decision Day. More than 300 schools and 35 counties in Florida participate in at least one of these initiatives. FCAN is also in the process of developing a new initiative, Planet Florida, to increase post-secondary awareness for younger students. You can learn more about FCAN's statewide initiatives at the website below. And last but not least, we provide local and statewide leaders, educators, and the public at large with nonpartisan research data and other resources that support communities striving to improve college and career readiness, access, and completion for all students, including policy briefs. Which brings us to our topic today. You simply can't have a conversation about higher ed in Florida without talking about our nationally recognized statewide 2+2 articulation agreement. The first of its kind in the nation, Florida's 2+2 system represented a bold idea when it was first introduced in 1971, a seamless, student-centered K-20 public system of education that provides its residents with the access and choices that make earning a 4-year degree possible no matter where in the state a student lives. Florida's 2+2 transfer model guarantees admission to a public university for any student who completes an associate in arts degree at one of the state's 28 open access Florida College System institutions. In addition to the transfer options students have among Florida's public post-secondary institutions, agreements are also in place at the 30 nonprofit independent colleges and universities of Florida, also known as ICUF institutions, as well as a number of for-profit institutions in the state. With more than 50,000 students graduating with their associate's degrees from the Florida College System's 28 institutions each year, increasing outcomes for transfer students is one of the more impactful approaches the states can take to improve post-secondary attainment in Florida, which is important because not all students who begin a 2+2 transfer pathway completes their degree. In 2016, the Florida Board of Governors established the Select Committee on 2+2 Articulation to review Florida's transfer laws and policies and identified a list of challenges students are known to face. including the academic transition, the admissions process, and the adjustments many students make when moving from campus to campus. One of the common questions facing transfer students is whether or not they will get into the university that is close to their home. Current Florida law states that state colleges students that earn an AA are guaranteed admission to a university, not necessarily the university of their choosing. This is important because admissions data shows that 91% of Florida college system AA completers apply to only a single state university. It's been said that this is likely because many state college students are place bound, and that this is one of the reasons why AA completers don't enroll into a four-year institution. This is exactly where Florida's new targeted transfer partnerships come in. To better serve the students in their communities, the vast majority of state colleges and universities now provide enhanced or targeted 2+2 transfer pathways. These partnerships, also known as enhanced articulation agreements, include a number of approaches backed by research from, among others, the Community College Research Center at Columbia University and Aspen Institute and the Aspen Institute College Excellence Program. We include additional information about this research in the brief, which is centered around concepts learned from cognitive science and behavioral research that shows students benefit from early planning, a clear pathway to their degree program with tailored supports along the way. And most importantly, for students who meet eligibility requirements, Florida college system transfer students who complete their AA degree are guaranteed admission to a specific university. These changes represent an evolution of Florida's long-standing commitment to helping more transfer students complete their degree and get to the finish line. Since the 2004-2005 academic year, the number of Florida college system students graduating from state universities has increased each year. State universities now enroll over 72,000 associate's degree earners from Florida college system institutions each year, making Florida's 2+2 transfer pathway an essential mechanism for increasing post-secondary access and attainment, closing equity and opportunity gaps, and developing a highly skilled and educated workforce. At the conclusion of the brief, we also include a number of recommendations for our state leaders to consider to build on the momentum our systems and institutions have made in recent years. We believe that with these considerations, Florida can continue its standing as the #1 state in the nation for transfer student policies for decades to come. As a bonus to the brief, we also released last month an interactive data dashboard that shows where over 21,500 Florida college system students transferred in fall 2016. The dashboard also shows transfer student outcomes by institution, which can also be viewed in the appendix of the brief. I know that was a rather quick overview of everything included in the brief, but I'd like to transition next to our presenters joining us this afternoon. Madeline Pumariega is the Chancellor of the Florida College System and serves as a member of the Florida Prepaid College Board, Higher Education Coordinating Council, Florida Council of 100, the Center for Post-Secondary Success at Florida State University, City Year Miami, and Florida College Access Network. Chancellor, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours once I take you off mute. All right, there you are. Can we hear you? Let's try that. I think that should work. Are you there?
Hi, how are you?
We're doing great.
All right, perfect. We're with the Florida College System. We were having a few technical difficulties, so I'll have the Chancellor get on right now, okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. What I'm trying to do is message him to let him know to just unmute everything.
Is that Carrie? I can hear you. I can actually hear you just fine. So whenever you all are ready, fire away.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Madeline from Mariga. Troy, can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes. Crystal clear.
All right,
Thank you.
great. We were all together on one line that you couldn't hear us. So thank you so much for putting together what I think is really important topic for Florida, which is the Transfer 2+2 program. As you said in your introduction, I think Florida has the national model for 2+2. We know that we have a strong articulation system built on a common numbering system with pathways to our universities. As you indicated, students that complete their Associates of Arts can apply to one of our universities and have a very high likelihood of getting in what we hope to their program of choice because they've gone through a guided pathway and met all of the prerequisites. But if not, that they are accepted into one of our state universities with their 60 credits and makes our 2+2 program incredibly strong. So strong that the state of Florida is #1 in higher education, according to U.S. News report. And I really believe that when you look at that report, it is really based on our 2+2, the percentage of students that complete their associate degrees at one of our colleges and those that transfer on to our universities. We know that when our students transfer on to our universities, they do just as well as the native university students. Our college system is the pathway for our universities. College students that graduate from high school graduate in one of our 28 colleges at about a 63%. So we know from the graduating class last year across Florida, for those who went to college, which is about a 62%, that's up statewide from 60 to 62% of the graduating seniors enrolling in one of Florida's post-secondary institutions within 12 months of their high school graduation. 32% go directly into one of our state universities. And when you think about our enrollment at the state colleges, we enroll approximately 800,000 students a year, and we know that about 50% of those students are Associates of Arts students. At some of our institutions, much higher, that number could be more around 58 to 65% of their enrollment are Associates of Arts students. And so last year, 57,000 of our Associates of Arts graduates went on, and about 35,000 actually applied to the state university. That's 61% of our graduates applied to one of our state universities. 30% were admitted into one of our state universities, and that's about 86% of the students that applied. And then 25,000 students actually enrolled in one of our state universities. And so you might ask yourself, where are the gap in the numbers? For example, of the 57,000 graduates, 35,000 applied to the one of the state universities. However, many others either entered the workforce, and we did a report on the leavers, those that completed their Associates of Arts and did not continue. We did find them working with an average earning of about $33,000. We also have a large group of students, because our average age is 26, that stay at the Florida college system and pursue a workforce baccalaureate. That's about the age of our workforce baccalaureate students, an average is about 31. So you can see of the 57 where those numbers, the students have different pathways into transfer. And again, 35,000 applied to one of our state universities. What we did find between those accepted at the state university, which is about 30,000, to those who actually enrolled, which was 25,000, many of our students are place-bound, means that they may have been admitted to a university and then just didn't have the type of financial aid available or the means to move from home to that university. And that's where you see sometimes where students may have been admitted but not actually enrolled in the graph that's in front of you, with the type of pathway to the universities that our colleges have. I would say that half of the juniors and seniors that are enrolled in our state universities come from one of our Florida college system institutions. And so that's an impressive number when you think about the enrollment at our state universities. And so you would ask yourself why. I really believe it's the work of our 2+2 articulation and of most recent, the targeted pathway articulation agreements that we have seen evolve. The first one was direct to connect with UCF. It was Valencia's agreement with the University of Central Florida, and where the University of Central Florida put advisors onto Valencia's campuses to help students that were finishing their Associates of Arts at Valencia and then transferring to UCF. We've seen more of those 2+2 targeted agreements, as you see TCC with FSU, but most recently the FUSE program out of the University of South Florida, which partners with 7 of our 28 institutions, which are the pathway into the University of South Florida. And so we continue to work with our colleges and universities to strengthen those targeted pathways. And I would say that another area, another university that's really taken the 2+2 targeted pathways to the next level has been FAMU. They've worked with colleges looking at their enrollment patterns where students were more likely to transfer from one of our 28 institutions and enroll at FAMU, and then put together targeted pathways with institutions like Palm Beach State College, Pasco Hernando, St. Pete College, and others. And so we're proud that we're working with 10 of our 12 universities in developing these targeted pathways for students. How well do our students do when they arrive onto the university as a junior? They do at par with native university students that competed for a sought-after spot at many of our highly selective universities. And we also know that they're enrolling in those programs that the Board of Governors aligned and identified as programs of strategic emphasis. Of those students that transferred over, you can see that the largest enrollment is in business management, followed with health sciences, engineering, and life sciences. And so I believe through the work of our guided pathways, we'll continue to focus on those programs of strategic emphasis. In the end, I think that both what our colleges and universities do better than any state in the nation, and we've been recognized as such, is really align our programs to the workforce. When you look at our colleges, known so much for our workforce programs, and our universities, together we are making collective impact and making sure that our business and industry partners have the talented workforce for the future. But you can see there that 50% of our graduates last year, which were about 116,000 graduates from our 28 colleges, 50% went on to the state university, and you can see there the enrollment in regards to college credit certificates, associates in science, and workforce baccalaureates, all credentials that today are required to get that competitive job in Florida's marketplace. And so, Troy, with that, I will pass it on back to you for our next panelist.
Yes, thank you, Chancellor. It's definitely not easy to highlight everything the system does related to transfer in such a short amount of time, but we sure do appreciate you indulging us. And someone who can also speak at length about transfer students, let's introduce our next presenter, Dr. J. Jeffrey Jones from the University of Central Florida. Dr. Jones serves UCF as its Vice Provost for UCF Connect and UCF Global and is going to tell us more about his campus's nationally recognized efforts to improve access to post-secondary degrees for the broader Central Florida region. Dr. Jones, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Troy, and welcome to all of our colleagues today. I would like to start by talking a little bit about Direct Connect to UCF. Of course, we do have a partnership between the University of Central Florida and 6 Central Florida state colleges under what's known as the Central Florida Higher Education Consortium, which was formed in 2005. In April of 2006, we did roll out Direct Connect to UCF. The current members are College of Central Florida, Daytona State College, Eastern Florida State College, Lake Sumter State College, Seminole State College, and Valencia College. And with the terms of this consortium agreement, we do guarantee admission to UCF for any Associate of Arts or articulated Associate of Science graduates from state college partners. They may or may not qualify for a limited access program, but they are guaranteed admission to the university. We currently share space on 11 regional Connect centers. We were formerly known as regional campuses. We've rebranded a number of these things relative, particularly talking about our Connect centers. One of the things that we've noticed is that many of the students who were formerly regional campus students who were geographically constrained from attending our Orlando campus are now choosing to take online campuses or online courses. So as we have UCF online and its rapid growth, we're still continuing to touch these students at the Connect centers. We enrolled just over 6,000 new transfer students in 16-17 from our consortium. That grew a little bit in 17-18. Of course, we don't have those final figures in yet. We've still got some summer students enrolling, but we consider Direct Connect being the primary reason that we're ranked as the #1 transfer receiving institution in the United States. About in excess of 50% of our 66,000 students have transferred in from somewhere, about 58,000 undergraduate students. Our 6th year, that is the Associate of Arts degree plus 4, is 62%. Our FTIC 6-year rate is 70%. And of course, our FTIC number is becoming a very highly selective population with over 1,300 SAT scores and in excess of 4.0 GPA. So we feel that we're doing pretty well in comparison to that group coming in. And our 8-year, 2 plus 6, is 72.6. Of course, we equal that of our FTICs at that point. We awarded 13,000 baccalaureate degrees in 2015 and 16. And 43% of those were awarded to students who came through our Direct Connect consortium. Just a little bit about the scale, and our strategic plan is centered around the simple equation that scale times excellence equals impact. So we take that part of it very seriously. We have awarded more than 36,000 degrees to Direct Connect students. 94% of those graduates continue to work in the state of Florida. More than 120,000 students on these 6 state college, a variety of 11 campuses, if you will, or 11 Connect centers, have indicated an interest in direct connecting to UCF. And interestingly enough, it has been turned to a verb. We, of course, look at Direct Connect to UCF. Students talk about direct connecting. So I guess that's a true mark of acceptance when students begin to use that as a verb. We have an 80% first to second year retention, so that would be after the AA degree and until the 3rd year, 80%. And we have certainly, Direct Connect has certainly contributed to the overall diversity of the student body at UCF. We have 54% identified as ethnic or racial minorities, and our overall population here at the university is approaching 47%, so that we know that we're having an impact in lifting that data point across the university. and 1/3 of our students coming through Direct Connect, our first gen. We have a number of initiatives that we really put under the heading of Direct Connect 2.0. But basically what we're doing now is really looking at how we improve student success for those students coming through a variety of on-ramps, but certainly through Direct Connect to UCF and other Florida State College transfer students. So we work hard on curriculum alignment. We regularly meet with our state college faculty partners. This is a faculty-to-faculty exercise that's facilitated by our administrative units. But basically, we will have all of our biology faculty, for instance, meeting once a semester from the 6 state college partners and the University of Central Florida to talk about where the curricula should be aligned so that when a student is coming out of a 2000 level course at the state college, that they're completely prepared for the expectations in the 3000 level course at University of Central Florida. We all know we have a common course numbering system, but as we also know, the actual alignment of course content and so forth is somewhat variable. Another new thing that we've instituted is we do have now within our consortium an academic coordinating committee, what we call a CACC. This is, I think, very unique from the standpoint that if a state college partner decides that they need to add a baccalaureate degree, workforce-oriented baccalaureate degree, that comes to the consortium for review, first of all, to review the workforce needs and to make sure that we're not duplicative among our various consortium members. So we have a little bit of an institutional internal control system to make sure, again, that we're maximizing the reach of all of our consortium members and utilizing our resources appropriately. And so that CACC is made up of the chief academic officer from each of our state college partners, as well as 2 UCF administrators. So that's one of the things we've been working on very recently.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jones. I think what your presentation shows is what's possible when the campus leadership provides a strong commitment to improving student outcomes. As you said before, Direct Connect to UCF is one of the oldest such programs in the country. And when we worked with campus leaders on a project throughout last year, this leadership between the partner colleges was one of the things that stood out as the reasons why Direct Connect to UCF has been so successful. And so moving on to our next presenter, one of the ways that research shows students benefit from targeted transfer pathways is through tailored advising and supports. Dr. Janie Valdez, Assistant Vice President for Undergraduate Education at Florida International University, is going to tell us more about their approach to supporting transfer students, which was featured in a 2017 article in Community College Review, which identified FIU and their college partners as having a highly effective transfer partnership. Dr. Valdez, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Looks like you might have yourself on mute, so once you tap that, you should be good to go.
Thank you, Troy, and welcome to everyone as well. So let me actually, Troy, sit in this cover slide for a little bit because I also want to share with our listeners a little bit about Connect for Success. This is one of FIU's admission success pathways, also guaranteeing that admission to students who complete the AA in one of our partner colleges within 3 years. So we try to incentivize the 3-year mark so that we can see some intensity in enrollment and try to get students to graduate within that 150%. That's the expectation for the state college. Our key partners are Miami-Dade College, Broward College, Palm Beach State College, and then the Florida Keys Community College. Also, admission is not guaranteed to limited access programs. So FIU, within that context of Connect for Success, also has a very large transfer student enrollment. We're 4th in the nation and 2nd to our colleagues in UCF in Florida, and that really translates to about 9,000 students per year. So we have a lot of work that we do, a lot of evolving that we do every year around Connect for Success and other efforts to ensure that those students are having a good transition and the most seamless transition possible. Connect for Success also contributes to our access and equity mission. So I looked at the last 2 cohorts and found that African American students, for example, are represented in larger numbers in Connect for Success by 12%, which is very, very good to see. Our overarching goals around Connect for Success are rooted in that access piece and timely completion of both the AA and bachelor degrees. But I think what's important specifically with our highlighting of the bridge advisors is that within that framework, we build and evolve that guided part of when we say guided pathway. And that's the part that speaks to the experience of the student while on the pathway and making that experience as meaningful to the student as possible. And so those 2 components are pre-transfer advising and student engagement. So our bridge advisors, if you look at that brief definition at the top, who are critically important to that piece I just talked about, are FIU advisors housed at each of our partner colleges except for the Florida Keys. They help students become what we talk about being transfer ready, or you may have heard the term junior ready. Transfer ready essentially means working proactively with students in tandem, always in tandem with college advisors, so that when students transfer, they have selected a major, they've completed all their prerequisites, and any additional GPA or admission requirements met for limited access programs. Bridge advisors will go through extensive training at FIU, so they can serve in essence as generalists and be able to speak fairly confidently on all majors, but also around tracks and majors, minors, and certificates. Pre-transfer advising, as you can see, can be one-on-one, and generally it is one-on-one, small group. Sometimes we can offer general information by email, by phone, certainly in traditional tabling settings, and through a set of transition workshops that I'll be happy to share with you a little bit later in another slide. As part of Connect for Success, students receive the FIU One card, which gives them access to FIU's library, athletic events and signature events for Connect for Success students, of course, discounts at our gym, etc. So this adds tremendously to that meaning-making experience that I talked about earlier for our students. But what it's also doing is that it's keeping students' four-year identity intact. So we want students to feel and stay motivated in this process and have a vision that the state college is their first stop and not the last stop. And it's really interesting because our Connect for Success students tend to identify themselves and define themselves as Connect for Success. So they don't say, I'm a BC student, I'm an MDC student, or even an FIU student. They might say something like, oh, I'm a C4S student transferring to FIU. And so if we've learned anything from cognitive science, it's sort of that there's a lot of power in that, right? It's empowering what we tell ourselves, empowering how we define ourselves. So that's such an important piece to this program. And Bridge advisors are so connected to keeping that engagement alive throughout their time in the state college. Bridge advisors are also obviously key to encouraging students to take advantage of that early engagement. And that's everything from sending email blasts to students, distributing flyers, adding an event on their signature line. And finally, bridge advisors also work very closely with college advisors. And, I don't think I have to say that without that collaboration, this really doesn't work. The partnership works when the partners truly work together. And so what that looks like is a lot of working in triage format, referring students one to another, working together on those transition workshops, student outreach efforts, for example. Bridge advisors attend department meetings with advisors, and it really becomes a collaborative community among each of our campuses where they're housed. And then finally, on the logistics side of the house, Troy, if you can actually go back just on the logistics side of the house, even though that's not there, we have 8 bridge advisors. 6 of them are at Miami-Dade College. 3 of these advisors are actually new and work exclusively with humanities majors as part of a grant. 1 bridge advisor is at Broward College and 1 bridge advisor is at Palm Beach State College. And we work with our students in Florida Keys via chat, video chat, and email and phone. And the partner colleges provide our advisors with an office space, phone, desktop when possible, parking decals, etc. And within each college's parameters, we also pantherize, if you will, look to add FIU identity in that office space with memorabilia and such. So these are the key components of pre-transfer advising. And it's all about helping students identify that major early. And we know from research how important that is to get them on the right track so that they can take the courses that they need. But it's about helping to inform them about campus resources that can support that level of exploration as early as possible. Then it's a little bit about digging deeper into what the students are thinking about FIU majors, certain combinations they may have in mind. I might have an interest in both psychology and sociology, and this is the brilliance of where our advisors can say, well, you can major in one and minor in the other, and this is going to look really good on your resume, and you're going to be able to gain some really good academic training in both of these areas. It's just giving them an idea that it's sort of like one size maybe fits none, that they can make some interesting combinations using certificates and tracks and still obviously keeping them in the limit of excess hours. And this is the time where we're having preliminary conversations about honing about the courses they need to transfer based on their choice, certainly honing any type of major that may be limited access where students are going to have to really dig deeper and in that preparation process. And because they might need a portfolio, they might need a more competitive GPA, and they may need to have very specific prerequisites completed with specific GPAs. So all that is going to be a really important process in the ongoing conversation between bridge advisors and their students. We developed a set of transfer guides for each of our FIU majors. We were very, very methodical in keeping these at 1 page and giving just some very, very good information to students about what they needed to do, including tables, transfer tables, to make it as clear as possible, the courses that they needed to take at their state college and what that translated to at FIU. We currently have guides for MDC, BC, and are in development with the ones for Palm Beach State College. This work is also done in great collaboration with our college advisors, and I certainly invite you to visit our website to take a look at some of those guides if you're interested. Bridge advisors also liaise with FIU advisors and staff, and so this can look like everything from clarifying a new department policy or demystifying a rumor that a student may come in with, to connecting a student with, say, residential life to get information about living on campus. And finally, we work very hard to maintain a common message across bridge advisors that includes reminders about the importance of attending full-time, taking full advantage of summer to meet some of those credit milestones if it hasn't been met in fall and spring. Also reminders about to our advisors about focusing everything that we do with our students on an assets-based approach of empowerment that focuses on really not on what students lack, but what they bring to the picture, and helping those students identify those strengths that they have that they may be actually taking for granted, like being multilingual and being able to operate in such different spaces and face their obstacles from that place of strength. So that's very important to us, and we spend a lot of time training our bridge advisors in coaching techniques. This particular slide, I mean, I think you can really read that at your leisure, but I wanted to share with you that we have 3 standard transition workshops around Connect for Success, and we segment these by credit so that each gets to tackle a different set of milestones for both the State College and FIU. The last workshop is actually held in a computer lab so that students get assistance updating their application, and the goal is that once they leave that session, they're pretty much ready to go. And that one is also attended by financial aid staff at FIU, which makes it so incredibly helpful to our students in making that seamless transition as well from a financial aid perspective and scholarship perspective. I just wanted to share briefly some Student contact data for our combined bridge advisors for our last year. And so we can see that the one-to-one appointments and those conversations, what that looks like, and then the number of workshops and events at about 148, and looking at impacting in some way through conversation, through a presentation, another set of large numbers of students so that students know where we are. And one of the earlier slides had a sample flyer where we put out and tell our students about our bridge advisors and where they are. And of course, we have a website that shows that information in case we shift them around if we need to. One of the big questions that we get, if you can go back, Troy, one moment, please. One of the questions that we get on the right side of your screen is, how do the bridge advisors actually track their students? And so this is a really important question, because sometimes the advisors are out there, they're using Excel sheets, sometimes Qualtrics, for example. And so I have a very talented business analyst who developed an app using free software, where it allows our advisors to go in and basically have a bit of an intake method that puts the student's name and information and gets information about reason for visits and other information. And this is self-reported information. The next time that student visits that advisor, the advisor simply has to put that ID, and all the information is populated again, and the advisor can see what the student talked about, if there were any pending items that we needed to discuss. And one of the nice things about this particular application is that anything that I have in my advisor notes section at the bottom, I can send to that student. So if I talked about a scholarship at FIU that there's a deadline, I can go ahead and say, hey, Mary, make sure that that you check out this deadline that we talked about and get your essay ready so that you can submit on time. And that goes to the student's email. So we're very, very active in telling our students to please check their email. This information provides us obviously the ability to make data-informed decisions around busiest times, days, reasons for visits, etc., and how we can build other resources that are available 24/7 to the student and doesn't require that face-to-face interaction. But it also builds an accountability community around our advisors and the work that we do. And finally, just to share some data around Connect for Success and non-Connect for Success students, is just looking at, on the left side of your screen, the transfer in rates with AA of our Florida college system institutions to our community college partners that are outside our partnership. So this is not the FCS writ large, but our other transfer institutions from across the state at 70%, and combined with Miami-Dade and Broward College, looking at those numbers with Connect for Success students and regular transfer students, seeing that difference is an important one. It's an important difference because we know at FIU, although it is a national data point, that students who enter universities with AA degrees have higher graduation rates. At FIU, that looks like about a 10% difference graduation rate. So it's really important to us. And I have to share that the reason I combine the data with Connect for Success and non-Connect for Success students is that our bridge advisors see both of them. And so we can segregate that data and disaggregate it, but we decided to put it together for this session for you because they are having an impact on all students. Our four-year graduation rate has been at an uptick from 2014. Our goal is to get to 70% by 2020, and it looks like we are on track to getting there. And I think there's going to be a cumulative effect, especially in the next 2 years, since we placed more bridge advisors out in our colleges, and the collaboration that we've been doing with those colleges has intensified and deepened in significant ways. And then on the right, without excess hours, again, through all of the students that are transferring to FIU from other non-partner colleges outside of Connect for Success versus those in Connect for Success, we're looking at, again, some really good positive trending data that we're seeing more and more students coming in with those prerequisites completed. But what we also see in the data is when you look at the gap, in the 83%, the students who are coming in with excess hours tend to cluster around STEM. And so as an example, once we learned that, we really started looking very, very deeply about how we can work more closely with STEM students and have them transition with more of those prerequisites met. And so Right now we have a shared grant with Miami-Dade College called the Seamless Transfer Pathways Grant, and it's an opportunity for both of us to work in tandem to think of ways with which we can support that transition for those students and decrease that financial impact and that time impact to our students. So it's just, again, another collaborative effort that is very much data informed and very, very much in the interest of the partners to make this work for our shared students. So on that, I leave you with my presentation, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Valdez, for the presentation. We know FIU takes a lot of pride in Connect for Success and its Bridge Advisors, and we appreciate you sharing with us more how the program works. Joining us next is Dr. Faye Howard, who is the University of South Florida's Assistant Dean for Upper Level Initiatives. Dr. Howard leads a team at USF that coordinates an exciting and yet still relatively new transfer partnership with local college partners in the region. To tell us more, I will hand the reins over to Dr. Howard. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to make sure that I provide sufficient time for our participants to ask questions. So I'm just going to provide a very high-level review of our program. We are the newest in the state to have a partnership when it comes to transfer students. And just to give you a brief overview, we define FUSE as a very seamless transfer program with the University of South Florida system, still currently the system right now, and 8 Florida college institutions. We used to have 7, but we now have added the 8th one, which is Santa Fe. Very proud of that addition. Students that participate in the FUSE program have a very unique advantage that perhaps they cannot find anywhere else. They have guaranteed admission into a specific major here at the university, which is one of the things that sometimes stops students from attending the university that they would primarily be their first choice, because they may be not so sure about some of the requirements or things that they need to do to ensure that they get into the major that they want. Our FUSE program takes care of that, as they do have that guaranteed admission piece to it. The only caveat, of course, is that they complete all of the requirements and the expectations of the program. And one of the unique pieces of this is that although it's strongly encouraged in many of the programs to complete an Associate of Arts degree, it's actually a requirement of our program, and that really helps with strengthening the partnerships that we have with our 8 institutions here in the state. Of course, we always put our students first and have their interests at the forefront of all of our decision making, but it also helps both of the partners in this. So we make sure that our partner institutions are increasing their graduation numbers, not only just their graduation numbers, but their time to completion. And that, as we all know, that's a very important factor in all of our metrics, no matter what institution you belong in here. So not only are they completing a degree with their institution, we ensure once the transition comes to us that they also complete their degree within that defined time frame. Like I said prior, we do have eight total institutions that we partner with, as you can see here: the College of Central Florida, Hillsborough Community College, Pasco Hernando State College, Polk State, St. Petersburg, Santa Fe, South Florida State, and the State College of Florida. So we have very individualized grad paths where students take courses on an academic plan. It's not suggested, it's very clear and very defined. I also have a slide, I'm going to show that to you in a little bit as well. This just gives you an overview of the various programs and majors that we have with our varying institutions. And what's most interesting, many times when I'm talking to senior leadership here and out in the community, you get to see our top 5 popular majors as well. And this is our individualized sample grad path here that I can share with you. So a student is able to see very clearly what courses they need to take at their institution, at their AA granting institution before moving on to us. And we also include additional information in the grad path so that the student is aware of some additional requirements that they may need to have just to make sure that they check every box, cross every T and dot every I, so that when they start here at the University of South Florida, no matter what campus they go to, that they really truly have a seamless path, and we're able to fuse that connection between their AA grading institution and here at the university. And this slide I'm going to rush through as quickly as possible, like I said, to provide enough time for our participants to ask questions. But the unique piece as well, which you've heard with some of our other partners, is that we really do want to make sure that our students within this program feel very much a part of their AA granting institution, as well as feel like a USF bull as well. So we do provide them with particular amenities and privileges so that they can feel very much a part of the college system here before they actually graduate with their AA. Once again, a very strong point is that they must have the completion of their AA before transferring over here. We also have embedded advising as well, where we have advisors that work at our campuses with some of our partners, and if they're not physically at that campus, we've also introduced online advising using the Zoom platform this academic year as well. Some of our partner institutions are upwards of 120 miles away from some of our campuses, so we want to make sure that the students are connected no matter where they are. And one of the things that we started to do as well in recognizing that the program is growing. So we are really the new kids on the block when it comes to having this program. We started our first pilot in academic year 2016-2017. We worked with Hillsborough Community College and St. Petersburg College, and then did a full implementation rollout for 17-18. So in that, since we do have a large amount of partner schools that we work with, we've developed separate work groups as well, where we have a strategic, operations, student experience, data and assessment, and marketing teams all throughout all of our 8 institutions, including the USF system, to make sure that we stay on top of supporting the success of all of our transfer students. Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Howard. I'm going to take our presenters off mute here and get our Q&A started. Just wanted to remind everyone to submit your questions in the control panel on the GoToWebinar application. And Chancellor, I have you unmuted now too. Okay, so let's see. The first question I think is for Dr. Valdez. There was a free software program I think you referenced that was used on one of your slides. There's a question about what the name of that program is.
Well, it's an amalgamate of some free software out there, but I am happy to connect this person to my business analyst. And I know, Troy, you're going to send contact information, and we can provide that information.
I'll get you hooked up with the person who asked the question when we're done. Next question, Chancellor, if you don't mind answering this one, it's about 2+2 articulation agreements and programs available to private institutions. I know I referenced before that there is an agreement with the ICUF institutions. Can you just speak to the articulation agreements that the Florida college system has with private institutions? And they also asked how we can get started if we don't have one.
Thanks, Troy. That's a wonderful question. I just came back from visiting North Florida Community College, and St. Leo is right on their campus. And I would say that there are a lot of the ICUF schools like St. Leo, St. Thomas, Berry, that all have much more of a regional type of 2+2 articulation with our colleges. Again, those, if you don't have one and you're one of our private institutions, we encourage you to model them very much like what you just heard from FIU, UCF, USF. I think that the best 2+2 programs are those where it's really a partnership, where the universities are putting resources on the college campuses, such as bridge advisors and advisors, and where the career pathways and the guided map pathways are as clear and transparent as possible. So that way, it is really the partnership of getting a student through our colleges as quickly as possible and into your university with the right credit hours and the right prerequisites. But we do have a number of those articulation agreements with our private. As a matter of fact, I think that as a system, we have 78 articulation agreements, 2+2, with both public and private institutions.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there's a very long list of those agreements that are on the Florida College System website, or probably the Florida Department of Education website. It's fairly easy to find. Next question is, have any of you connected with K-12 to help strengthen your local 2+2 transfer pipeline?
Well, if I can take a little crack at that, we have had attempts through the years to integrate our K-12 partners in our College Access Summit, we call it, which is a spring conference we have every year with our Direct Connect partners. We've met with mixed success with that. I think the key is to keep the content as relevant as possible to all attendees, and we've had some ups and downs with that. But one new project that we're working on with Valencia College and the Orange County Public Schools and Osceola School Corporation is that what we're calling CFeed, which is the Central Florida Education Ecosystem project, database project. And with that, we're very excited to be early stage in a process that will allow us to use some predictive analytics to determine in advance what sort of hurdles our K-12 students might have as they enter Valencia College specifically. So we're real interested about some of the opportunities to really reach down in a vertical database. One of the more unique things I've been involved in my career.
Yeah.
At the University of South Florida, what we do is we partner with our institutions and we build upon the programs that are already in place, and they have been quite successful. So our partnering institutions have standing and ongoing meetings that they have with guidance counselors and with the high school population. So because our relationships are very strong, we are invited to attend those events, and they've been very beneficial. So we found that we didn't go out on our own, but we partnered with our institutions for success.
Thank you for that. The last question I think we'll have time for is that we had over 150 people registered, almost 100 if I'm not mistaken, join us this afternoon. We've got folks representing the college system institutions, the state universities, but a number of folks outside of post-secondary institutions. We'll just maybe lump these folks into the category of community leaders and partners. How can this group help support the transfer efforts taking place on your campuses? Maybe we can start with Dr. Valdez.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that we've benefited from so much are really partnerships outside from a foundation perspective. If you heard me speak earlier about our 3 bridge advisors in the humanities, those are sponsored by a Mellon Foundation grant, who have such an interest and an impact on supporting this type of work, and certainly looking at the humanities space, which is a nice balance with some of the work that we've been doing through the years around STEM. So I encourage the level of outreach to these to all our programs, to our partners, in how we can collaborate together to really make this impact one that is significant on so many fronts, including, of course, ultimate employment. And again, we have been the beneficiaries of those partnerships with actually 2 and 3 of our partners from a grant writing perspective and a foundation perspective.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And that actually wraps up the time that we have for the webinar. Thank you very much to our presenters, Chancellor Pumariega, Drs. Jones, Valdez, and Howard. I want you all to keep an eye out for an email in your inbox in the coming days with a recording of today's webinar. We'll have the contact information in there for the presenters, as well as a recap of the top takeaways from the presentation. I'd also like to thank the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their support on the brief, which served as the focus for today's webinar. And speaking of webinars, please mark your calendars and register for FCAN's next webinar, which will be taking place Wednesday, June 13th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. The webinar will take a closer look at the No Excuses Poverty Initiative, which was created in Amarillo, College in Texas in 2012 to address the challenges facing its low-income students. Hosting the webinar will be Kathy McDonald, FCAN's Assistant Director for Network Partnerships, featuring an inspiring presentation from Dr. Russell Lowry Hart, President of Amarillo College. Please visit www.floridacollegeaccess.org to register for the webinar and to view our other releases, latest updates, and much more. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. Please have a safe and relaxing long weekend.